look the part, but let's see some of your moves.
Feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, solo. Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight, finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to, ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbon nights off me, I'm living life now that I'm free, yeah. Time to get myself together, now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather, better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy, the carbon night is gone. I'm moving on, I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride, I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, solo. Picking up my blaster, putting it on my side. I'm jumping in my Falcon, Wookie at my side. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, solo. I'm hunting solo.
Okay, I can see you have some skills, but now it's my turn.
I've got to say, I'm so glad that when we do that intro, A, it doesn't pick up my vocals, and B, it doesn't show me, mouthing the words along the way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can still see mine, being that you're the host. But yeah, I did the same thing for me.
Yeah, the world does not need to see Ken Bishop dancing in his podcasting studio.
No.
The world is a better place not having to witness that.
Yeah, but hey, puts me in a better mood every Wednesday night, getting to hear that and getting to see your lovely face and getting back together.
Thanks for that, John. Appreciate it. And from what I heard, if the rumor is true, Mike will be back with us next week. I think his work stuff is wrapping up this week, and if things go smoothly for us, we'll have our true captain back, and he can do all this whiz bang stuff with the intros and the captions and the scrolling and all that kind of stuff. And we'll have all three of our seats filled, so it'll be nice.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have a full crew again.
Yeah, and if things go smoothly too, maybe we'll have some shared stories, some shared time together, live and in person, that we can talk about next week. So,
First I've heard of this.
well, this is the weekend, isn't it? Isn't this the filming weekend?
Oh yeah, I won't be there.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
I forgot.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, back on the employment line, so couldn't. It was either take this weekend off or take the weekend for GalaxyCon off.
Gotcha.
So, unfortunately, Dad wanted to do GalaxyCon, so I got trumped on that one.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Hopefully the weather holds out for us. I mean, here in Jersey is supposed to be below freezing tonight. I don't know what it's like in Pennsylvania, but you were mentioning before we started that the scary weather out in Ohio. You got a bunch of snow.
Yeah, it's going to drop down to 27 tonight.
Yikes! 'Tis the season, I guess.
Yeah, we got a decent amount of snow that I was very surprised when I saw it again this morning when I woke up, still on the ground. But a lot of it has melted so far, but still not exactly thrilled on November 1st already having snow.
Yeah, well, at least it's not enough to close down, filming productions or anything like that. Making us hole up in a hotel somewhere.
Yeah,
and normally our segments, as we usually do Troop Time and Costume Corner. Do you have anything for either of those segments tonight?
Not tonight. No, I'm slowly but surely getting my 3D printers back up and running. It's taking a lot longer than I hoped it would, but yeah, hopefully in the next few weeks I'll have some more costume updates.
Nice. The only thing that I have, hold on one second while I reach over and grab it, is I just have a little bit of finishing touches to do on
Ooh.
Tam Posla. This right here is just 3D printed gridding that came with the print, and what I'm gonna do on the inside is I'm gonna take some window screen and tape over it, and then there are these little holes here on the side. Same thing. I'm gonna put some window screen on the inside so it's not easy to see through. I put a matte finish of clear coat over the top of it so the paint doesn't rub off very easily. Did a little bit of weathering on the front chips and stuff like that.
Looks very nice. I love it. Does that not have a back shell, or is it
No, it's
supposed to be
just
wide
a
open?
well, this is what I got in the kit. Um, so I'm not really sure. And unfortunately, in the visual dictionary, they only have the front on photograph of it. They don't show
Mm,
the back. So so I'm not sure if it's supposed to have a back shell or not. That's the
very
only thing
nice.
that I have for Costume Corner. I'm glad it's finally at where it's at. And I think I'm just gonna use some narrow pieces of duct tape to put the screen in there. That way, if anything happens, I can take the screen out and fix the other pieces.
Yeah, that's usually how I fix my the frown mesh underneath the clone helmets.
Okay.
I usually just use duct tape, or I use Gorilla Tape, but it's a
Yeah,
little
actually,
more secure, but also still not permanent.
yeah, and if we're being really specific, I have the roll of tape that I have is T-Rex tape. I don't know if that's stronger
Hmm.
than Gorilla Tape or
Sure
you know,
sounds like it would be.
it just has. I hope it probably doesn't hold up to like meteors or anything like that.
Probably not.
And so,
But
considering that we're gathering on November 1st, I thought it would be only appropriate for us to spend a little bit of time talking about scary stuff in Star Wars. I mean, kiddos came by last night trick or treating. We didn't see anyone dressed in Star Wars stuff in our neighborhood. We only had, and truthfully, we only had probably at most 10 kids that came by. Which works out for me because now I have a big bowl of candy in the kitchen that I only have to share with the family. So
yeah, I seriously feel like trick or treating has gone by the wayside because of the old trunk or treat.
yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that last night while we were because we were just kept looking at each other because saying why are there fewer kids? Um, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the concept of trunk or treat because it feels like very corporate. Like not it feels less personal is what I'm trying to get at.
yeah, and in I guess in both directions of that, meaning you the trickster who wants to go and get the candy. You want to go and get the candy and as conveniently as possible. So instead of having to hoof it around two neighborhoods or whatever, you can go to a parking lot at a someplace close and go car to car to car to car to car. And then on the other side of it is like I don't want people at my door. I don't want to I don't want to have to run the risk of coming into contact with my actual neighbors or people or
Yeah.
people nearby. So I'll go to that parking lot and open up my trunk and give away candy to kids that way.
Yeah. But besides that, let's talk about some terrifying tales in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. So how old were you when you first saw Empire Strikes Back or any of the movies from the original trilogy?
I was probably 3 or 4 years old.
Okay.
Um, the only reason I know that is because I know I was 5 when I saw Revenge of the Sith, and that was the first one I saw in theaters, and it
Okay.
was somewhere in that ballpark.
So considering how little you were when you saw it, do you remember anything that was creepy, spooky, scary for you with those first three?
Honestly, like I understand like this is probably not the answer you want, but not really. I think I was just more enthralled in the story and the characters and what was happening on screen that I really wasn't, spooked by anything.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't so much as like true fear, but I remember the scene in the giant space slug where the Minox slams itself onto the windshield of the Millennium Falcon. I can remember, you know, physically jumping when that happened. You know, that unexpected kind of jump scare kind of thing. And that was the only one that I thought was scary. And I think in the first movie there was maybe a little bit of blood around Pondo Baba's arm, and in Empire Strikes Back, there was a little bit of blood with the tauntaun, but other than that, there wasn't really anything really gross either. I mean, unless you count Jabba, eating frogs and trying to smooch on Leia as gross.
Yeah, and the funny thing is like, so I think I've talked about it on here before, but one of my like first like core memories is watching Star Wars at my grandparents' house. I was just flipping channels and I turned on The Empire Strikes Back. It was during the carbon freezing chamber duel between Luke and Vader, while Luke is up in the rafters, and so I don't really understand like why like as being so young, like why that didn't like freak me out or scare me, because that's the scene where Vader is like at his most evil in the original trilogy. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I will say he was, for me as a kid, I remember being like an imposing figure, like this like filled the screen kind of things with his presence, and the dark cape and that really broad silhouette that he cast. Um, but it wasn't one of those things where I was afraid of him, where I would turn away, from the screen or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it. Yeah, the original trilogy, like I think it was just so well crafted that I just kind of obviously, as a little kid, I mean, how involved could I have been? But like, it's still like I was just so immersed in the story that it didn't nothing really got me. Now, my favorite scene in all of Star Wars, however, when I saw that for the first time, when Anakin gets Vaderified on Mustafar, that freaked me out a little bit. But yeah, I think that probably was the first time that I was like, oh,
Yeah,
watching Star Wars.
that was pretty gruesome actually in comparison. I mean, he had what, two legs and an arm cut off and set on fire, and
Yep.
then a few minutes later pieced back together again, kind of like Frankenstein's monster, you know, complete
Yeah.
with the bed and the evil scientist of Sheev Palpatine, so
Yeah, I remember having an irrational fear of lava for at least a couple years after that. But yeah, no, I think that was probably the first time that I was like just kind of taken aback by it. But otherwise, like the original saga, the first six, like it was all just like, because George has said like it's meant for kids. Like he made those with children in mind. So nothing in the original six movies really jumps out at me like, okay, that is scary. That is, that's terrifying. Other than Jabba, but I think that was just more because he was gross, like you said.
yeah, and big, like really, really big compared to
Yeah.
the other actors and stuff like that. Even compared to Chewbacca, I mean, he was really large and in charge.
Yeah, and I think, in the same vein, like Palpatine was also kind of one of those, scarier figures just because of how disfigured he was. The lumpy forehead, the wrinkles, the red eyes. I think I think Palpatine and Vader unmasked were probably the two most gruesome figures in the original trilogy.
Well, and I mean, you could even make the leap or make the stretch, to how Palpatine behaved, especially in Return of the Jedi. I mean, he was electrifying, electrocuting, Luke Skywalker in front of his own dad, and he's just screaming in pain, and he was just kept going for it. So even though it might not be the same kind of scary as a Freddy Krueger or the Terrifier, it was really mean and awful. And to your point, he was gross looking and pasty white skin and it's not he wasn't pleasant to look at, so you didn't want to look at him, and he was doing this awful stuff to the person that we consider our hero.
Hmm.
So, while it may not be scary, it definitely wasn't, the person we want to hang out with on the playground.
Right. Yeah, I think in the core six originals, which I kind of lump the prequels into the originals now. Now that we have so much new stuff in today's day, I still kind of lump all those six together as the originals.
Yeah.
But in outside of the the complete saga, I'll put it that way because of the Lego game.
Okay.
Outside of the complete saga, you've got, we talked about this a little bit before we started, the Clone Wars and Rebels, even in animation, you get some of those more like scary elements.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about the animation is that they could, have a couple episodes that were of a different theme or a different genre. That you could throw two episodes together where you have undead creatures or monster movies in there. There was I can't remember if it was one or two episodes of Clone Wars where there were actual zombies. I thought they had an episode where some of the Geonosians had been infected by a brain worm or something, and even a couple of the clones got affected by that, turned them into these zombie kind of creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now, have you been lucky enough to watch the Ewok movies yet?
Not yet. It's on my list. I need
Okay.
the first thing on my Star Wars list is I need to rewatch the Clone Wars because
Okay.
the more we talk, every Wednesday at between 8:30 and 9:30 here live, I realize that I don't remember a lot of stuff about the Clone Wars. So
Yeah, there's a lot.
yeah, I really need to go back and rewatch all of it because I just got done with it with another rewatch of Rebels. So, which still, this is off topic, but Rebels is still my favorite, animation project. I don't know why. I didn't watch Rebels. I had no interest in watching Rebels until I met Mike, and it has slowly become my favorite animation.
So, is it favorite animation style, animation in terms of the characters, animation in terms of the stories that are told, or is it a combination, you think, of all three?
I would say a combination of all three. Least of all the animation, I still prefer the Clone Wars animation, but
Okay.
I still like the Rebels animation a lot
Okay.
because I think it conveys the tone of the show as it is.
Yeah,
So,
and for the nerds in the audience that are listening, it was roughly based on the original Ralph McQuarrie drawings. So it's this wonderful homage to what got Star Wars started.
mhm,
Before all of that, it was just ideas in George's head and some scribbles for story treatments. And then after he worked with Colin Cantwell and Ralph McQuarrie to put ink and colors and all of this sort of stuff into a couple scenes, then Star Wars really started to blossom. You can see a lot of that animation, a lot of that connection, definitely, absolutely, positively on Lothal. And
mhm.
Chopper was a kind of like a prototype R2, early on. So there's that wonderful connection between the some of the more recent animation in Rebels and the earliest of drawings.
Yeah, yeah. I think the story and the characters really just hit home for me in Rebels. And I know Mike would be so happy to hear that if you were with us. But nevertheless.
Another thing that he's influenced one of us to do.
Yeah,
Watch
that's
Rebels, and
just another feather in his cap.
yeah,
But
he's gonna have a headdress soon.
no kidding.
Whether it's getting both of us to read more stuff, or to watch more stuff, or even in our cases do more stuff.
Hmm.
So, which by the way, I want to plug. I've got a coming soon episode of the Rambling Star Wars Fan, where I'm going to be talking about 7 of the things that Star Wars does very, very well. And one of the items on my list is Star Wars inspires people to do stuff. So I'll be talking about that in an upcoming episode of the Rambling Star Wars Fan. And Rebels had some scary bits in it too. I mean, there were some wild creatures. Like, was it the Gundarks? I thought that they had. They finally no, that was in Clone Wars. They finally put the Gundarks in there.
Hmm.
Or those the glowing eyed creatures that Ezra managed to use the Force to control in one of the episodes of Rebels.
Yeah, and even like just darker themes like the Twilight Apprentice 2-parter. What is that planet called? Why is it escaping me right now? Where the Sith Temple was.
Malachor?
Malachor. The whole set piece of Malachor, just, I mean, that one freaked me out a little bit, not gonna lie.
Was that the one where it had the Jedi and Sith like frozen and like almost like a creepy graveyard? They'd been trapped by Medusa, sort of thing.
Yep.
And Ezra found the saber very similar to Kylo Ren's.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that whole scenery set piece, like you said, eerie and creepy.
Yeah, I mean, in the mix of all the black, and then you contrast it with this, very deep, like blood red within the temple. I mean, it was just it was a darker set piece than we've seen in a very long time.
Well, and we got to see Ezra kind of going dark,
Mhm.
like willingly partnering with Maul to go into the temple and do these sort of things. So it makes you wonder: is our hero, this person that we've watched for as long as we have, is he going to go, further down that path to the dark side to becoming, not our hero anymore?
Yeah, and everything. Going back to the prequels. I mean, Maul being this purposefully devilish character. With the red and black skin, the yellow and red eyes and horns, and dressed in all black. That was another one where I was like, okay, all right, George, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, and that was Ian McKaig's concept for Maul. Originally, it was going those what became face tattoos and horns. They are the horns were originally supposed to be feathers, but when it went from the drawing into the other pieces, they turned them into horns. And George, in talking to the concept artist at the time, said, "I want you to draw something from your worst nightmares." And they brought up the red and the black and the horns, very reminiscent of Satan and the devil and things like this. But
Yeah,
to go back to the Ewok movies, they had witches, they had giant spiders, they had a giant like Jack and the Beanstalk kind of creature called the Gorax, who had kidnapped the kids' parents. And then the second one was even worse because the whole family, with the exception of Sindel, instead of the main character, the little girl, the mother, the father, and the brother killed in the first 20 minutes of the TV movie.
Oh,
not to spoil it for you, but
that's
what you guys.
First 15. That doesn't count as a spoiler. Yeah, I mean, and even going out of visual media, there is a book in Legends called The Death Troopers, where a Star Destroyer was infected with this disease that turned all of the stormtroopers into zombies. So, have you read the Death Trooper book?
No, I haven't. I've seen it. It's got that really cool cover with the helmet on a hook and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah,
And is that were the Death Troopers the inspiration for the the characters in the newer show or no?
I I would assume so. I don't know. I don't know if it's a direct connection, but it definitely has some visual parallels. But as we are all costumers, that's where the Death Trooper CRL in the 501st comes from.
Oh, straight from that book.
Hmm. Yeah, the zombified stormtroopers. That's what the Death Troopers were originally called, as opposed to what is now in the Disney canon as the Death Troopers.
Yeah, and what's also fun is when you go back to the original movies, some of the inspirations for the stormtrooper costume was meant to be a stylized skeleton. They
Hmm.
wanted those soldiers that have no human face to resemble something kind of creepy and evil. And what's more creepy and evil than a living skeleton kind of thing.
Right.
You know, even if they're not saying that's what it is, visually speaking,
Yeah.
you can see it there.
It's supposed to be an interpretation.
Yep.
Yeah. I wish that the Death Troopers had made their way into canon, like that specific story. Just because it's really interesting. I have not read the book. I will say that. Everyone knows I don't read, especially if it's not canon anymore. I can't be bothered with it. However, I've got a basic grasp on the book. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept that you have an entire Star Destroyer be infected with this disease, this zombifying disease, and having a legion of stormtroopers, chasing you through a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, it's almost like um, Star Wars meets Aliens.
Right.
Where they're in this haunted house, this haunted Star Destroyer, and they're trying to survive.
Yeah. God, what a great movie. I'm sorry. I love Aliens. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, and the special effects, I think, if you were to watch it today, are would be just as fantastic as they were then.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that like it in the same vein as Star Wars or some of the Star Trek shows. I would say not the original series and not really some of them, some in the movies, but more so like the Next Generation. Like it's in that like upper echelon of visual media that stands the test of time.
Yeah, because I would say because so much time and effort was put into it. I mean, the the sets were designed to be claustrophobic. The sets were designed to be um, even though they were fantastic, they were designed to be realistic. So if you were to go into into the cockpit and click the switch to switch, a light would come on or something would happen. It was meant to be really realistic, and it holds up today, I think, just as well as it did when it came out.
Mhm. Yeah, God. Yeah. Well, this is a Star Wars podcast. Let's be clear. It's not a science fiction podcast.
Well,
But
there were also a couple. I don't remember if it was Rebels or if it was Clone Wars that had and or maybe it was even Bad Batch where it was that horror movie kind of feel where um, they're in a dark place and they're trying to survive. Being chased by creatures or something
oh
like that.
no, that was the last season of Bad Batch. Because it's when Omega and Tech get trapped
In the mine.
in the mine. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an episode not too far from that where they had the big giant monster that's kind of like Godzilla.
Yep.
Or even in I thought it was in Clone Wars with the Zillo Beast.
Hmm.
where the Zilla Beast was attacking Camino.
Yeah.
So that's another fun thing that I really enjoy about the Star Wars animation is that they are able to stay in that galaxy far, far away and tap into some of these other entertainment styles. So whether it's a comedy or it's a horror movie or if it's a giant um, what are what are the monsters like Godzilla called?
Oh,
Um,
kaiju's.
Kaijus, yeah, that kind of thing. So it's still in Star Wars, but they managed to fit these other things into it.
Yeah, I always thought it was interesting that no matter what, you could take a subject and kind of morph it into what you would need it to be to fit into the universe, and it is almost seamless.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to the creativities of the makers.
Hmm.
Whether you're talking about Phil Tippett, who can take clay and wire and make these stop motion playset monsters on the chessboard that are creepy monsters, or even that same approach to make that mechanized spider tank thing that was in season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Hmm.
Or the cartoonists, the animators who are able to to use computers and draw some of this stuff to make you feel like you're in a haunted house, or you're running for your life from this thing.
Yeah. Or speaking of Phil Tippett, things like the Rancor.
Oh, yeah.
The Rancor, I oof. That is a feat in it of itself. That they were able to because the Rancor was 90% miniature. Like those scenes were mostly miniatures, right? If
Yeah,
I remember correctly.
yeah, and I think it was Phil Tippett's hand that was controlling much of the Rancor. It was a hand
Mhm.
puppet, from what I
Yeah.
remember.
I know they had a human scaled suit that they used for some of the more complex scenes, but yeah, the fact that they were able to bring that to life and make it again so seamless, that's a testament to the makers.
Yeah, and it was that combination of movie magic, whether it was the stop motion kind of stuff, the puppets, or um, the matte painting kind of thing, or I'm not even sure, or what is it when the compositing
Hmm.
of the different layers of film to get all of that to be in one scene.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it, you know, using 1980s technology, and not the stuff that we have access to today, like the volume and you
Right.
know, super
Yes.
duper powerful computers.
Speaking of other puppets, Salacious B. Crumb. That's another one that that should have terrified me as a kid. Just with that really high pitched cackle
Oh
and
goodness, yeah.
his just like lanky arms and legs.
Well, you could say that about a lot of the aliens or creatures that show up, even the ones that could be good guys, like Cy Snoodles in the band. At first glance, they look weird, and you're not really sure which side of the fence are they on. Are they the good guys, the bad guys? Are they gonna hurt me, or are they gonna be my friend?
Or
Uh,
just straight up Satan in the cantina bar. I wonder where his
Satan,
allegiances lied.
the little bat boy or whatever that
Yeah.
that went up to the counter to get a drink of blue milk.
Yeah, that is the only uh like special edition correction that I will ever take issue with is they got rid of Satan. I was so uncalled for.
Well, I thought too. Was it in that scene where they had the one alien that looked like a skull? His had like really sunken eyes and a big
Hmm.
s- a big skull type head.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could look at the entire cantina scene and you could pluck those out and you could insert those into pretty much any horror or like thriller movie, and they could be the main antagonist.
Yeah, and then
Really,
when you
anything,
go,
any of the aliens or the creatures they came up with. Doesn't
yeah,
even
and then
have
when
to
you,
just be the cantina.
yep, you broaden it to, like the pod racing scene and the pod racers. Some of them are kind of weird looking, or you jump forward to the Solo movie and you got Therm Scissor Punch and that one guy with the giant eye. You know,
Mhm.
like they could very easily be in a monster movie.
Yeah, or oh, who is the character that gets strung up in the first episode of the second season of Mando? You know what I'm talking about? He's another one. He's a really short guy with a big eye.
Yeah, the one
Yeah,
that was voiced by John Leguizamo.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember what kind of creature he was, but yeah, I absolutely know what you're talking about though.
yeah.
Well, even the Gamorrean guards, I mean, they weren't as gross as, let's say, Jabba the Hutt, but giant pig monster things that are drooly and drippy.
Mandalorian. It's gonna bother me if I don't figure out what his name is. Gor Koresh. That's what it is.
Does it say what
Yeah.
kind of alien he is?
No, I don't want the John Leguizamo page on Wikipedia. He is an Abyssin.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, and it looks like that's about it. Or Koresh. And the apparently there was also a different one named Mio in the cantina. Which
Really?
this is the first time in my 24 years of living I know that it's Schauman's Spaceport Cantina. That's the name of the cantina. Good to know. But yeah, Gor Koresh. That's I feel vindicated now. Now that I know it. Now that I remember his name.
And I think it was those red-eyed creatures that ended up, eating him or attacking him were the
Mhm.
same ones that were, with Ezra and Kanan in that one episode of Rebels.
Yeah.
They kind of stuck to the shadows, and you just see their red glowing eyes.
Yeah, I was going to try and pronounce this, but the the devil it's the same species of the devil looking character in The Mandalorian, part of Bill Burr's crew.
Yeah, the Devronian.
Yeah,
And there was a Devronian in Rebels too. He was the um not a gun runner, but like a smuggler
yeah.
that Kanan and Ezra had done some business with. Was it Zhivago?
I know it's Vago because they always called him Vago.
Maybe that's what it was.
But yeah, what else? What other Halloween related Star Wars is there?
Well, I mean, there's you mentioned Lego stuff a
The
little while
Halloween
ago.
special. As soon as I said it, I was like, "Wait a minute! Didn't they just do a Halloween special?"
Yeah, they did a whole episode or a show last year that had three episodes in it, and then this year I think they released at least two episodes on YouTube. These little shorts that were scary, spooky themed.
Yeah, I never saw the Lego Halloween special. I watched the summer vacation one because Weird Al was in it. But yeah, I know one of the premises of the Halloween special last year was Luke turning to the dark side pretty early on, and joining the TIE Fighter Pilot Academy.
Yeah, you should watch them. They're brief.
Yeah, I know they're like I think it's like 45 minutes or something. It's pretty short, all things considered. But I feel like I missed my window now. It's November. It's not spooky season.
Well, I mean, you could just say you're getting ready for next year. You're just early.
That's true. 364 days early.
And they've done a bunch of scary comics that are similar veined to the like the what if sort of stuff.
Hmm. Which I really wish that they would do a Star Wars What If. With how well Marvel's What If did, I would eat that up so quick.
Well, and they could, I mean, with that idea, they could call it what if, and it could be a story straight from Legends.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to make it movie quality. They could keep it in animation, whether it's the Rebels animation style, the Resistance animation style, or the Clone Wars animation style.
Or a completely new animation style that we haven't seen before.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
could
look
you can
what
call
they
it
did with
Tales from
Vision.
Legends.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that could be a fun way, so we've had 2 seasons of Visions, and we've had, animation studios from around the globe that have contributed. How fun would it be to go back to those same studios, whether it was the stop motion ones or the anime ones, and say, okay, now you've come to us telling us the story you want to tell. How about you pick pick a chapter from this broad, Legends smorgasbord of stuff, and see what you can pull from there.
Yeah, there really is just so much, but we need. I think I will interject this here, just to speak it into existence. We need Revan in the canon. We need him officially established. All right, look, I understand Disney. You've got this thing with the old Republic you don't like. Give me
Well,
Revan. That's it.
wasn't he mentioned in season 6 of Clone Wars with Yoda when Yoda went on that spirit quest?
I don't know. I thought because I thought that was just Darth Bane. I
Maybe
thought
it
he was
was.
the only one that I know Revan is technically canon with the Rise of Skywalker because one of the legions of Sith troopers was the Revan Legion.
Okay.
However, it's not good enough. I need Keanu Reeves under the mask. I'm asking for one thing, one singular thing.
One big singular thing, but still one thing nonetheless.
No, look, they have a show on their docket. They could perfectly just slip him right into, and we'll call it a day.
You think it
But-
fit into the Acolyte, or
I'm not saying that show. I'm not saying anything else that they've got on the docket. I'm just saying there's one in particular that you could just slide right into.
yeah, perhaps. I mean,
But-
you might as well just ask Dave now. We know he's listening.
Yeah,
He's probably one of the 3 viewers on YouTube paying attention to the show tonight.
Dave, Kathy, John, I'm asking, please, just do it for me. But okay, what else you got on the docket? What else? What other spooky things or completely unrelated topics? Because we've
Well-
for 43 minutes we've stayed on topic for the most part.
Yeah, well,
I think that's a first for us.
what about monsters that could be scary? I mean, we had mentioned Han Solo earlier. How about the Rathtars? The Rathtars, I think, are a fantastic example of a frightening monster, or even Borgullet. We didn't get a lot of time with Borgullet, but how creepy is it that you have this slimy tentacled thing that can somehow manage to read your thoughts?
Before we go into Borgullet, I just have to say this. I don't like the Rathtars. I don't like slimy meatball tentacle monsters in my Star Wars. But the Borgullet, on the other hand, slimy tentacle monsters that can read your thoughts. Now that I can get behind. Yeah, I really wish they would have given Borgullet a little bit more screen time because I thought that was a really interesting, new addition to the Star Wars mythos that this creature that can read your thoughts exists and nobody has used it before.
Yeah.
Now, is Borgullet force sensitive?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if the force is all living things and it has the ability to read your thoughts, we've kind of seen that in different different medias, maybe not to just like straight up like I'll use D&D terms, but like straight up cast detect thoughts, but you've seen a mental link between characters before, so I feel like it's not that much of a leap to conclusions to say that it's probably force sensitive.
Yeah, I mean,
It to some degree.
yeah, I don't see why not, especially considering the method by which it reads the thoughts, very similar to Kylo reading Rey's thoughts. I mean, he forced his her thoughts out of her, so who's to say that Borgullet doesn't do something very similar, except in order to do that, there has to be that actual physical connection,
Mhm.
you know, which is kind of gross because you see him all slippery and slimy in that cave, and knowing that the tentacles are wrapped around you and pulsating.
Just scuttling his way towards you.
Yeah, and you're restrained. Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Zoidberg. Is it really me if I don't make a leap to Futurama too?
Although I don't think Zoidberg, maneuvers as grossly as Borgullet does.
I don't know.
Even when he does that sideways pinchy thing.
There's a specific scene that I'm thinking of, and I'll send it to you later, where Professor Farnsworth gets covered in a fish aphrodisiac, and he gives him a good head massage. I'll put it that way.
All right.
So it's somewhere in my folder. But yeah, the Borgullet scene was gross. That's there's no other way to put that. But we also kind of touched on it with the Minox. I mean, the Minox are gross too. Hairy little bat-like creatures with the like suction cup mouth. Yeah,
then if you want to, if we want to go not necessarily the scary route, but the evil route, you can't deny the evilness of some of the characters that we've seen, like from the Andor show, the torture guy, who played he played the sounds of children screaming of some alien species as a means of torture, and seemed to really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, Andor was that again, it's not scary, it's just unnerving and unsettling. Like, a lot of the stuff in there was just gives you the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, what folks were willing to do for power, willing to do for status,
for money.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's some of the evilest stuff. And so we were talking earlier how Mike has gotten us reading, and one of the books that I didn't read it, I listened to it recently, there was lots of evil, and I was amazed at the amount of times they straight up referenced murder, and that was Rise of the Red Blade. That was a fantastic book, and there was just a lot of evil behavior in it, like vicious, malicious, doing things to harm, to hurt, which was really powerful. And while it may not be a monster, they were the characters were doing monster kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Even Crimson Climb had some of that, the greed and the quest for power and status.
Yeah, I really need to do a deep dive into some of these Star Wars books, because once I'm finally done with the Thrawn trilogy, which I'm hoping to be done here in at least the next couple weeks, because I haven't really had time to really dive deep into them. But I'm open to suggestions. The Rise of the Red Blade sounds like it's right up my alley, though.
Yeah, I think you'll like that one a lot. And
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. It falls on the timeline, starts in the Clone Wars and goes beyond.
okay.
I don't remember where it ends, but it definitely starts during the Clone Wars. I mean, there's not to spoil it, but there's scenes on Geonosis.
Mhm.
When they were going to rescue Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I am fresh out of
Spooky,
spooky
scary.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think we've done a good job for a last minute topic, thematic topic, considering that we just had Halloween last night. Um, so when are we going to hear the next episode of the Beskar Bucket?
When actors and writers are properly and respectfully paid.
Okay.
I'm sticking to my guns. I'm trying not to post anything on my on my feed until the strikes are over. So I know the writer's strike is officially over, but as soon as the actor's strike wraps up, I've got a few things that I'd really like to cover on my show.
Okay. Would you and your father be willing to do an Under the Armor interview on the Rambling Star Wars Fan?
I'm sure we could work that out.
Yeah, because I did an interview with Ned and Ruben. They're both at the time they were both members of the Mandalorian Mercs. So I interviewed them as as costumers, as fans of Star Wars, and then we talked about the Mandalorian. So I was figuring that you and your dad, considering you both dress as Imperial officers, I would interview you as officers and talk about, why you choose those costumes and to get your impressions of how the officers have been portrayed in the various Star Wars shows that we've seen.
I think we can make that work.
And I definitely want to get some more audio slash video of your dad doing his best Imperial officer impressions, because he seems to have that majesty when he puts on the uniform.
He really does. I think it's so funny to watch him, just like when he's in kit, and he just like he puffs out his chest, looks down his nose at people. It's like, wow, it's almost like you were meant
Yeah.
for this.
Yes, he puts on the whole suit, not just the material suit, but the whole persona. Even in photographs, when I get to see the pictures of you and your dad trooping, even just looking at the two of you in pictures, he stands at attention, and he's got that ramrod straight spine, and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, the
So
only time I didn't see it in a picture was when he met Julian Glover. I think he was a little too starstruck to keep up the whole appearance.
even rough tough Imperials get fanboy moments from time to time. Well, thank you for another awesome episode of the Inflatable Falcon. I'm pretty sure so far our uh, crowdfunding has zero donations.
Mm.
So nobody has contributed to help us get an Inflatable Falcon yet. So we're just going to have to keep flying um, through this galaxy. You, me, and hopefully we'll get Mike back on board with us next week.
Yeah. Well, I'd say we've held down the fort pretty well these last 6 weeks? 4
Yeah,
weeks?
it's incredible what we've been able to do. We haven't set anything on fire. We haven't been arrested or insulted anyone um, deliberately. So I
Yeah.
think that's we got a lot to be proud of.
We didn't put too much of a strain on the compressor. So
That's
no,
true.
no need to bypass it quite yet.
And we didn't even have to do any light speed skipping. We got to where we needed to go as
I
fast
think
as we needed to go
I think the deflector dish is still intact too,
for once.
for once.
So I'm gonna go ahead and cue up our outro. Like I said, thanks for another great episode, and we will catch up with all of you soon.
I used to put my faith in starships, but then my Falcon's hyperdrive just slipped. I used to worry about the future, but then I threw my caution to the wind. I had no reason to be carefree. No, no, no. Until I took a trip to the treetop side of town. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, I heard that wicked rhythm. Hey, I had no choice but to get down, 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 dance. Woo! There's nothing left